You can't block my only way home forever. That's what Susan Blackwell, the iron-fisted president of the Oakwood Estates HOA, barked at me one sweltering afternoon, her arms crossed like she was guarding Fort Knox. Behind her, a crew hammered in a chain-link fence topped with razor wire, sealing off the dirt road that led straight to my ranch. I stood there in my dusty work boots, fresh from mending a corral, staring at the barrier that now stranded me from my own property. For a split second, I figured it was a mix-up. But when Susan shoved a letter in my face demanding I sign up for her HOA or kiss my access goodbye, I knew this was no joke. It was straight-up blackmail wrapped in neighborhood rules. What she didn't know was I'd spent years as an Army engineer, blowing through barriers in deserts half a world away. If she wanted a standoff, she'd just poke the bear. My name's Jack Thompson. After 20 years dodging IEDs and building bridges under fire, I cashed out my pension for a quiet slice of heaven in Greenfield County, Texas. 40 acres of rolling hills, a few cattle, and zero bosses telling me how to live. My deed was rock solid, boundaries marked clear as day. I dreamed of mornings with coffee on the porch, watching the sun rise over my land. But I overlooked one glitch. The only road in cut through Oakwood Estates, a gated community full of McMansions and folks who thought their cul-de-sacs were sovereign territory. For years, that road was open to all, ranchers like me, UPS trucks, even the volunteer fire department. No fuss. Then Susan Blackwell got elected HOA president and smelled blood. To her, it wasn't a public thoroughfare, it was a bargaining chip. She showed up at my gate one day, entourage in tow, declaring I'd have to pony up dues to her club if I wanted to keep using their road. I pointed out that my land predated their subdivision by decades, that I wasn't part of their fancy enclave. She just smirked. Rules are rules, Jack. Join or jog. I felt my blood boil. This wasn't about upkeep fees. It was about control. Susan was the type who weaponized every bylaw, fining folks for unmowed lawns or holiday lights past New Year's. She figured I'd cave for convenience. But I'd faced worse than a clipboard-wielding busybody. That night, as I paced my living room, staring at the fading tire tracks outside, I swore I'd fight back. A man shouldn't have to beg to reach his own front door. The next morning, the blockade started for real. I heard the rumble of heavy equipment and rushed out to see workers installing that fence, complete with a padlocked gate. Concrete posts sunk deep, no way around without a tank. Susan supervised from her SUV, sipping a latte like it was a tailgate party. I marched over, demanding answers. "This is for members only," she said sweetly. "Non-payers are trespassers." Trespassers? On the road I'd driven for years? It was infuriating, a power play that left me fuming. I called the county sheriff. A deputy showed up, hat in hand, and shrugged after glancing at my deed. "HOA owns this strip. It's private. You might have an easement claim if you prove historical use, but that'll take court time, months, maybe years." Gray area, my ass. I was landlocked, and Susan knew it. For days, I improvised, hiking in with supplies on my back, borrowing a neighbor's ATV to skirt the woods. Once, a buddy choppered in hay bales, rotors whipping up dust over Oakwood. Susan filed noise complaints. The sheriff laughed them off. But she escalated. Soon, violation notices flooded my mailbox. Claims of disturbing the peace with my generator, vandalism from my boot prints near the fence. All bogus. Then one night, floodlights lit up the barrier as a backhoe dug a massive ditch in front of the gate, turning it into a no-man's land of mud and rocks. Even if I picked the lock, my truck would sink. Susan watched from a lawn chair, toasting with iced tea. "Safety upgrades," she called. Safety? It was sabotage, pure and simple. The outrage built. I confronted her. "You're endangering lives. What if there's a fire?" She waved it off. "Your problem, not ours." That arrogance gnawed at me. I'd built tunnels in Afghanistan under enemy fire. This was child's play. I mapped the terrain, called the Dig Safe hotline. No utilities buried there. Then I phoned old Army pals. Some HOA queens got me barricaded. "Need help going under." They arrived with shovels and grins. We worked nights, muffled drills biting into earth, hauling dirt in wheelbarrows under tarps. The tunnel was basic, wide enough for a pickup, shored with timber and rebar, vented with fans. Susan patrolled by day, bragging to her minions about breaking me. She had no clue we were undermining her literally. As the hole lengthened, so did the tension. She added cameras and a rent-a-cop who dozed in his car. Complaints piled up, one for unauthorized aerial activity from the chopper drop. Then came the near tragedy. A thunderstorm hit, and blue lights flashed at the ditch. An ambulance was stuck, sirens wailing. My elderly neighbor down the road had a stroke. Paramedics couldn't cross. I raced out, guided them through the woods on ATVs. We got him to the ER in time, but barely. That lit a fire in me. This wasn't just my beef. Susan's ego was risking lives. Word spread. Other ranchers shared horror stories. Fined for visible barns, harassed over engine noise. Volunteers joined our dig. Locals fed up with HOA overreach. We finished the tunnel in 2 weeks. Sturdy, graveled floor, emergency lights. I tested it at dawn. A truck rumbling through the dark, emerging beyond the fence like magic. Freedom tasted sweet. The reveal was epic. I drove out casually, parking where Susan could see. She arrived for her morning inspection, froze, then freaked, pacing, yelling. How? Spotting the hidden exit, she clawed at the dirt, face twisting in rage. I filmed it all, uploaded it to local forums. HOA boss outfoxed by rancher's tunnel went viral. Neighbors howled. Even Oakwood folks whispered she'd gone too far. Susan sued. Property damage, illegal excavation. I countersued for harassment, endangerment, and obstruction. Allies poured in, donations, lawyers. We had emails from her board. Squeeze him till he pays. Plus footage of blocked emergencies. Court day arrived. Reporters swarmed the Greenfield courthouse. Susan's lawyer spun me as a vandal. Mine laid out facts, easement rights, her extortion scheme. Testimony sealed it. I recounted the ambulance delay. A UPS driver testified to her screaming fits. Susan crumbled on the stand, admitting she had ignored safety codes. The judge ruled. Easement granted, fence and ditch gone at HOA's cost. $200,000 damages. Susan ousted and fined $20,000 personally. Cheers erupted. She sat stunned. Days later, crews demolished her barriers. Oakwood elected a new president, a reasonable accountant, who apologized publicly. Susan's house hit the market. She fled amid memes and mockery. My ranch buzzed with a victory barbecue. Ribs, beer, folks touring the tunnel, now dubbed Blackwell Bypass. Kids waved signs. The sheriff toasted me. Life normalized. Open roads, no threats. The tunnel stayed as a monument, drawing curious visitors. Greenfield felt freer. Neighbors helped each other, ditching petty rules. Susan's reign taught us. Unchecked power corrupts, but standing firm wins. What do you think? Was Susan just enforcing rules, or a total bully? Share your take in the comments. Agree with the tunnel tactic or not? Let's hear your HOA horror stories or easement battles. Your views could spark the next big discussion.